Friends, if you want to watch super hit movie Joker, FAA doing English, then you must like this video. If you are visiting our channel for the first time, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Friends, in today's video, the movie we're going to talk about is called Joker Folie. Deux will talk about what this movie is and where you can watch it. All the interesting about this movie in today's video, I am going to tell you. I am also going to give you all the information on which I request you friends to watch this video till the end, so let's start the video. Joker Folie à Deux is a 2024 American jukebox musical psychological thriller film directed by Todd Phillips from a screenplay he co-wrote with Scott Silver. Loosely based on DC Comics characters, it is the sequel to Joker, 2019. The film stars Joaquin Phoenix reprising the title role as Arthur Fleck, with Lady Gaga joining as his love interest, Lee Quinzel. Zazie Beetz and Lee Gill also reprised their roles from the previous film, while Brendan Gleeson, Catherine Keener, Steve Coogan, and Harry Lottie joined the cast. It is produced by Warner Bros. Pictures in association with Joint Effort and was distributed by Warner Bros. Pictures. Joker was conceived as a standalone film, although Warner Bros. Intended the film to launch a DC Black film series. Phillips expressed interest in making a sequel, which entered development in June 2022. With Gaga and Beetz joining later that year. Principal photography took place in New York City, Los Angeles, and Belleville, New Jersey, from December 2022 to April 2023. Joker Folie à Deux premiered at the 81st Venice International Film Festival on September 4, 2024, and was released in the United States on October 4, 2024. Although various reviewers praised the performances of Phoenix and Gaga, the film was not well received by critics and has grossed $119 million worldwide against its $190 to $200 million production budget. Plot: in an animated sequence, the Joker is impersonated by his shadow, who takes his place to perform his singing number for a TV show, and then abandons him on stage before 3 policemen arrive and beat him. Arthur Fleck is in custody at Arkham State Hospital, awaiting trial for the crimes he committed 2 years prior. His lawyer, Marianne Stewart, plans to argue that Arthur has dissociative identity disorder and that his Joker personality is responsible for the crimes. At a music therapy session in another part of the hospital, B ward, Arthur meets another patient, Harleen Lee Quinzel. Lee confides to Arthur that she grew up in the same neighborhood he did, had an abusive father who died in a car crash, and was committed after burning down her parents' apartment building. Lee also expresses her admiration for the Joker's crimes and personality. During a film screening of The Bandwagon, in B ward, Lee starts a fire. She and Arthur are caught trying to escape, and Arthur is placed in solitary confinement.
Lee visits him at night to say she is being released to avoid his influence, but promises to attend his trial, and they have sex. During an interview with television personality Patty Myers, Arthur sings to Lee through the television screen, deepening her love for him. On the day of the trial, Assistant District Attorney Harvey Dent calls witnesses who dismiss Arthur's claims of insanity. During a break, Marianne reveals that Lee was actually a psychiatry student who grew up in the Upper West Side, and her father, a doctor, is alive. Furthermore, she voluntarily committed herself at Arkham, checked herself out, and never burned down an apartment building. When Arthur confronts Lee, she confesses that her lies were an effort to get close to Arthur, but also tells him that she is pregnant and has moved into his old apartment building to create a home for them. At the trial the next day, Arthur dismisses Marianne and represents himself. After bringing Arthur's former co-worker Gary Puddles and neighbor Sophie Dumont to the stand, Dent rests his case. Arthur, visibly affected by Gary's testimony, offers no defense, although, during his speech, he mentions the Arkham guards, calling them fat and stupid, and indicating they treat him badly. Returning to Arkham, he is taken to the showers room by head guard Jackie Sullivan and 2 guards, where he is brutally assaulted before being brought to his cell partially naked. Ricky, an inmate and friend of Arthur, verbally confronts the guards, resulting in Jackie strangling him to death. Overhearing this, Arthur reminisces about the aftermath of his first kills as Joker. During his closing argument in court the following day, a devastated Arthur renounces his Joker persona, taking full responsibility for his actions. Enraged at this, Lee storms out, and the jury finds Arthur guilty of first-degree murder. As the foreman reads the verdict, a car bomb explodes outside the courthouse, killing and injuring numerous attendees and scarring half of Dent's face. In the chaos, two followers help Arthur escape. Arthur wanders through Gotham City and encounters Lee outside his old apartment, but she rejects him for renouncing his Joker persona. And when asked if her pregnancy is true, only replies by singing the refrain of "That's Entertainment." The police apprehend Arthur and return him to Arkham. The next day, a young inmate approaches Arthur and begins telling a joke before repeatedly stabbing Arthur in the abdomen, echoing Arthur's punchline from when he murdered talk show host Murray Franklin. As Arthur bleeds to death, his assailant carves a smile on his face while laughing hysterically. Joaquin Phoenix as Arthur Fleck Joker, a mentally ill nihilistic criminal with a clown-inspired persona, formerly an impoverished party clown and aspiring stand-up comedian. Director Todd Phillips said that while the film would venture further into Fleck's psyche, he would not become the clown prince of crime, as his Joker persona is an unwilling symbol to people who give him the love he always wanted. Lady Gaga as Harleen Lee Quinzel, a patient at Arkham State Hospital who becomes obsessed with Arthur and forms a deadly romantic relationship with him. 12:13. Describing Quinzel, Phillips noted how this version of the character is manipulative, immoral, and more grounded, with the film deliberately ignoring much of the character's classic mannerisms and style to fit into the world created in Joker. 2019. Gaga felt Lee to be a study of contradictions, as her love and obsession for Arthur is also admiration and disgust, being both truthful and dishonest, really dangerous yet completely peaceful. Deeming Lee a very non-linear person, like everyone involved in storytelling, and thinking she was the more real, the more she could be a contradiction. Brendan Gleeson as Jackie Sullivan, an abusive guard at Arkham State Hospital. Catherine Keener as Marianne Stewart, Arthur's lawyer. Zazie Beetz as Sophie Dumond, a single mother and Arthur's former neighbor, whom Arthur imagined being in a romantic relationship with. Steve Coogan as Patty Myers, a popular TV personality who interviews Arthur in Arkham. Harry Lottie as Harvey Dent, the newly elected assistant district attorney who plans to bring Arthur to justice for his crimes. Lottie developed his own backstory for the character to accurately play the role, with Phillips instilling in him the idea that, in the dawn of televised trials, Dent is cynically willing to put Arthur on trial for his own gain. To prepare for the role, Lottie avoided watching the versions of Harvey Dent in Batman 1989, Batman Forever 1995, The Dark Knight 2008, and Batman vs. Two-Face 2017, portrayed by Billy D. Williams, Tommy Lee Jones, Aaron Eckhart, and William Shatner respectively. Phillips confirmed that one of the film's shots meant to signal the character's eventual descent into his Two-Face persona from the source material, affirming that he and his crew tried to come up with a realistic answer as to why certain things happen. Lee Gill as Gary Puddles, Arthur's former clown co-worker whose life he spared. Ken Lung as Dr. Victor Liu, a psychologist who gives his testimony diagnosing Arthur at the trial. Jacob Laughlin as Ricky Moline, an inmate at Arkham who admires Arthur. Bill Smitrovich as Judge Herman Rothwax, who presides over Arthur's trial. Sharon Washington as Deborah Kane, Arthur's former social worker. Additionally, Connor Story appears as a young Arkham inmate who watches Arthur in secret throughout the film before murdering him and seemingly taking over his persona, though Phillips did not confirm whether this character is the Joker who becomes Batman's archenemy. Tim Dillon appears as an Arkham Asylum guard who asks Arthur to sign his book. Mark Maron's likeness as Gene Ufland is used for the book. And archive footage of both Robert De Niro as Murray Franklin and Frances Conroy as Penny Fleck is used. Production development Joker 2019 was intended to be a standalone film. 30. Warner Bros. Intended for it to launch DC Black, a line of DC Comics-based films unrelated to the DC Extended Universe DCEU franchise with darker, more experimental material, similar to the DC Black Label Comics publisher. However, even before the film wrapped, Joaquin Phoenix told director Todd Phillips that he did not feel ready to leave Arthur Fleck behind. One night while falling asleep, Phoenix had a dream of his character performing on stage, telling jokes and singing, giving him the idea of possibly doing a musical sequel. They then brought the idea to producer Toby Emmerich, while Phillips said in August 2019 that he would be interested in making a sequel, depending on the film's performance, and if Phoenix was interested, 35, he later clarified that the movie's not set up to have a sequel. We always pitched it as one movie, and that's it. In October 2019, Phoenix spoke of reprising his role as Arthur Fleck, saying, "I can't stop thinking about it. If there's something else we can do with Joker that might be interesting." In another interview, he said, "It's nothing that I really wanted to do prior to working on this movie. I don't know that there is more to do, because it seemed endless, the possibilities of where we can go with the character." He was paid $20 million for his involvement. As the film went on to earn more than $1 billion, Phoenix and Phillips thought about a possible follow-up in the form of a Broadway theater show. They did not consider making a conventional sequel depicting Arthur's development into Batman's nemesis by turning him into the clown prince of crime or putting him in charge of a criminal syndicate, despite the original film's depiction of the murder of Bruce Wayne's parents. Phillips preferred to focus on how Arthur's breakdown captivated Gotham, being interested in examining how the very idea of entertainment went from movies and television to whatever scandal the news currently air. In November 2019, The Hollywood Reporter reported that a sequel was in development, with Phillips, writer Scott Silver and Phoenix reprising their duties. However, Deadline Hollywood reported the same day that The Hollywood Reporter's story was false and that negotiations had not even begun. Phillips responded to the reports by saying that he had discussed a sequel with Warner Bros., and it remained a possibility, but it was not in development. Phillips and Phoenix started seriously considering the idea of making a Broadway sequel show to Joker at the Carlisle Theatre. After the original plans were changed by the COVID-19 pandemic, Phillips and Silver began developing a sequel while still considering Phoenix's musical concept. Phillips found the idea risky and dangerous enough to give the film audacity and complexity, with music, dance, drama, courtroom drama, comedy, happiness, and sadness, and a traditional love story. Aware that young moviegoers may not be interested due to preferring usual comic book films, Phillips banked on their appetite for something new and different to help the film differentiate itself from remakes and reboots. Phoenix suggested the idea of teaming Arthur with a female Joker that could serve as his dance partner in a kind of psychotic tango. This led Phillips and Silver to the idea of including Harley Quinn, a female villain associated with the Joker and first introduced in Batman the Animated Series, to serve that purpose. In October 2019, Phoenix spoke of reprising his role as Arthur Fleck, saying, "I can't stop thinking about it. If there's something else we can do with Joker that might be interesting." In another interview, he said, "It's nothing that I really wanted to do prior to working on this movie. I don't know that there is more to do, because it seemed endless, the possibilities of where we can go with the character." He was paid $20 million for his involvement. As the film went on to earn more than $1 billion, Phoenix and Phillips thought about a possible follow-up in the form of a Broadway theater show. They did not consider making a conventional sequel depicting Arthur's development into Batman's nemesis by turning him into the clown prince of crime or putting him in charge of a criminal syndicate, despite the original film's depiction of the murder of Bruce Wayne's parents. Phillips preferred to focus on how Arthur's breakdown captivated Gotham, being interested in examining how the very idea of entertainment went from movies and television to whatever scandal the news currently air. In November 2019, The Hollywood Reporter reported that a sequel was in development, with Phillips, writer Scott Silver and Phoenix reprising their duties. However, Deadline Hollywood reported the same day that The Hollywood Reporter's story was false and that negotiations had not even begun. Phillips responded to the reports by saying that he had discussed a sequel with Warner Bros., and it remained a possibility, but it was not in development. Phillips and Phoenix started seriously considering the idea of making a Broadway sequel show to Joker at the Carlisle Theatre. After the original plans were changed by the COVID-19 pandemic, Phillips and Silver began developing a sequel while still considering Phoenix's musical concept. Phillips found the idea risky and dangerous enough to give the film audacity and complexity, with music, dance, drama, courtroom drama, comedy, happiness, and sadness, and a traditional love story. Aware that young moviegoers may not be interested due to preferring usual comic book films, Phillips banked on their appetite for something new and different to help the film differentiate itself from remakes and reboots. Phoenix suggested the idea of teaming Arthur with a female Joker that could serve as his dance partner in a kind of psychotic tango. This led Phillips and Silver to the idea of including Harley Quinn, a female villain associated with the Joker and first introduced in Batman the Animated Series, to serve that purpose. The filmmakers asked themselves what needed to happen for two individuals to break into song in the middle of a conversation, and where the music could come from when no one but the protagonists can hear it. They rationalized that the main characters are not, or should sound like, professional singers with vibrato and perfect notes, instead sounding nerve-wracking but honest. On August 20, 2024, an exclusive cover story for Variety revealed that the film would open with a Looney Tunes-inspired cartoon animated by the triplets of Belleville animator Sylvain Chomet, which would be followed by prison riots, courtroom legal fights, and a variety show sequence that has Phoenix and Gaga portrayed as a homicidal Sonny and Cher. The film's ending, which sees a younger Arkham Asylum inmate carving a Glasgow smile for himself after a violent altercation with Arthur, was originally planned for the first film's original scripted ending, according to one source, with Arthur carving himself one in front of his crowd of supporters. However, Christopher Nolan did not allow the filmmakers to go through the idea, as he mandated that only Heath Ledger's version of the Joker from his film The Dark Knight, 2008, should have a Glasgow smile. By the time Joker Folie Deux entered development, Nolan and his company Syncope Inc. no longer worked with Warner Bros. After disagreements with their release treatment for Tenet, 2020, by quickly sending it to Max, having moved on since 2021 to Universal Pictures to direct Oppenheimer, 2023, hence allowing Phillips and his crew to implement the idea in the film with the patient who encounters Arthur. Casting days after the film's official announcement, it was announced Gaga was in talks to portray Harley Quinn and that the film would be a musical. An expert in reinvention, Gaga accepted the role due to seeing the part as a new challenge that was something she had never done previously, after her film appearances in A Star is Born, 2018, and House of Gucci, 2021, as well as she recognizing having two extremes in identity and duality, as her character applied to her too, due to complicatedly having like a second life in her celebrity singer persona. Gaga would confirm her casting later that summer. She received $12 million for her involvement. In August 2022, it was reported Zazie Beetz was in negotiations to reprise her role as Sophie Dumond in the film. Beetz was confirmed to be reprising her role the following month, alongside the cast additions of Brendan Gleeson, Catherine Keener, and Jacob Laughlin. Gleeson joined the project out of his admiration for both Phoenix's indelible performance in the first film and Gaga, but admitted to being kinda intimidated by what he had to do for his role. 58. In October, Harry Lottie joined the cast in what Deadline Hollywood reported as a big role, later revealed to be that of Harvey Dent by the film's official trailer. Lottie taped an audition for Phillips, consisting of a recorded self-talk between himself and a friend of his, just as HBO renewed Industry, 2020 present, in fall 2022, not expecting to get the role, for which he had no information. A couple of weeks later, Lottie had a Zoom call with Phillips, during which he offered him the role of Dent straight away, even though his team assumed it was going to be a note session for a second read. Filming principal photography began December 10, 2022, with Phillips releasing a first look on his Instagram account and Lawrence Sher serving as cinematographer, 5960. Sher had cited Francis Ford Coppola's One from the Heart, 1982, as a source of visual inspiration for the film. Exterior filming occurred in New York City and Los Angeles by March 2023, 62. Gaga had filmed scenes with a crowd of extras demanding Joker's arrest outside the New York County Courthouse, which had led some onlookers nearby to mistake it for Trump's arrest following his first indictment. Arkham Asylum scenes were filmed at the abandoned Essex County Isolation Hospital in Belleville, New Jersey. In April 2023, filming took place at the Joker Stairs. The stairway on West 167th Street in the Bronx featured prominently in the first film. Filming officially wrapped on April 5, 2023. The film is shot entirely with IMAX-certified digital cameras, including the Arri Alexa 65, the same camera used in filming for Joker. Unlike many musicals that have actors sing along to a pre-recorded track, Phoenix and Gaga performed the musical numbers live, accompanied by a piano player who performed off-camera, keeping up with whatever tempo they established. Meanwhile, Phillips tried to sync the radically different takes into a coherent whole in the editing room, describing the experience as a nightmare. Paparazzi photos from the film's set depicted a shot of Lady Gaga kissing a woman in a key scene during Arthur's trial, in which Lee would have passed a group of protesters and plant a kiss on the woman, which Gaga allegedly improvised before proceeding to meet with Arthur as in the finished film, where she does a soft song and dance number beforehand. However, Phillips nixed the shot and left it as a deleted scene once he realized that it required dialogue from the woman, which would have ruined the moment's vibe. Post-production. In December 2023, Gunn revealed he reviewed shot material and gave his notes regarding it, but had no involvement with the film otherwise. It was later reported that his notes and Peter Safran's were rejected by Phillips, who, according to one source, wanted nothing to do with DC. While making the film with an extraordinary level of autonomy and power over the final cut, allowing him to bypass any oversight from the brand's gatekeepers and distancing himself from it despite Gunn's support for the film, resulting in no DC executives being involved, as the film's greenlighting happened when the studio was in a chaotic restructure and the lack of the DC Studios logo presence in the film's beginning. The film wasn't also test-screened in advance, though insiders claimed this was a mutual agreement between Phillips and the studio to prevent leaks about spoilers, even though past, spoiler-heavy plotted films like the Marvel Cinematic Universe (MCU) film Avengers Endgame 2019 had multiple test screenings. The film was more expensive than its predecessor, which had a budget of around $60 million, with some publications noting the costs for Joker, Folie, Deux as high as $200 million, though Phillips denied that figure. It was later reported that the figure was due to Phillips' insistence of shooting in expensive areas, such as downtown Los Angeles, despite the studio's insistence of shooting on their set in London, which would have saved the film's budget up to $12 million. Phoenix and Gaga being paid $12 million and $20 million respectively also contributed to this. According to some sources, while backed by FedEx founder Frederick W. Smith, Alcon Entertainment put up Village Roadshow's portion from the first film with an eagerness to have a stake in the production. But Zaslav's regime didn't want to lose too much money, so the project ultimately got just one co-financier, that being its slate financing partner, Domain Entertainment. Industrial Light and Magic provided the visual effects for the film. Music main articles: Joker Folie Deux soundtrack and Joker Folie Deux score. Hildur Guðnadóttir composed the film's score, returning from the first film. The film is expected to include at least 15 musical numbers, most of them covers of pre-existing songs, with an opportunity to also feature one or two original songs. These songs will incorporate elements of Hildur's score. Needs update. Gaga released a companion album, Harlequin, on September 27, 2024. 73. Marketing: a teaser trailer for the film was released on April 10, 2024, while Warner Bros. Screened a presentation at the 2024 CinemaCon, being promoted by Phillips. It features Sammy Davis Jr. and Tom Jones' cover of the song What the World Needs Now Is Love, 1965. Christy Karras from Los Angeles Times felt the film's presentation as a musical adhered to a trend where movie studios seemed reluctant to promote their films as musicals, citing Wonka, 2023, and Mean Girls, 2024, as examples. Writing for Variety, Rebecca Rubin called the footage dark and gritty and highlighted the portrayal of Quinn as being Fleck's demented muse. The Wrap's Jeremy Fuster and Stephanie Calloy described the trailer as focusing on Quinn and Fleck's wild, destructive love. The trailer gained 167 million views in 24 hours, being Warner Bros.' biggest trailer premiere at the time, having surpassed that of the first trailer for Barbie, 2023. Phillips revealed during a Q&A session with IGN that he originally intended to shoot a trailer for the in-universe television film about Arthur Fleck's story mentioned in the film, confirming that it starred Ethan Chase, Justin Theroux's character from the first film, having planned for Theroux to reprise the role to shoot it. Plans for the trailer fell off due to running out of time. Release Joker. Folie à Deux had the world premiere at the 81st Venice International Film Festival on September 4, 2024. 10. Warner Bros. Insiders claim that the studio didn't want to premiere the film in that festival, as they had done back in 2019 with Joker, but Phillips pushed back until they accepted, though a spokesperson said Warner fully supported the decision to screen the film in Venice. The film was released theatrically in the United States on October 4, 2024, by Warner Bros. Pictures. At their 2024 Cine Europe presentation, Warner Bros. Announced that the film would be released overseas on October 2, 2024, 2 days before the domestic premiere. The film was released on IMAX screens, when Megalopolis, 2024, relinquished them a week after its own release. Following the success of Oppenheimer, 2023, and Dune Part 2, 2024 in the format Joker, Folie à Deux was released in the IMAX 15 perforation 70mm film format to 11 venues worldwide. The film was also released in 70mm IMAX screens in select theaters. Box office. As of October 8, 2024, Joker Folie à Deux has grossed $42.1 million in the United States and Canada, and $77 million in other territories, for a worldwide total of $119.1 million. 5. Variety estimated that the film would need to gross $450 million in order to break even. 5 weeks ahead of release, Box Office Pro projected that the film would easily gross at least $100 million in its opening weekend in the United States and Canada, and outgross its predecessor's debut of $96.2 million, with estimates at $115 to $145 million, despite it receiving mixed reviews at Venice like its predecessor. 2 weeks after, projections dropped to $70 million, and the week of release, estimates became $55 to $60 million. After it made $20 million on its first day, including an estimated $7 million from Thursday night previews, projections dropped again to $45 million for the weekend. It went on to debut at $37.7 million from 4,102 theaters, topping the box office but coming way below expectations. Deadline Hollywood attributed the opening to fans of the original not wanting to see a musical. Jeff Goldstein, the studio's president of domestic distribution, acknowledged the film's performance in an article by the Wall Street Journal, mentioning that the sequel was a deeper dive into mental illness, and making guesses about some of the film's core audience, particularly males, struggling to connect with this new direction for the character of Lee. Wall Street financial analyst Dan Ives deemed the film a black eye for Warner Bros. At a key time, with the industry having expected the film to be a hit. Variety also attributed the film's underperformance to Bradley Cooper's lack of participation on it with his commercial instincts unlike its predecessor, as Cooper dissolved his producing partnership with Phillips in 2021. Critical response. Publications described the critical consensus upon Folie à Deux' release as either negative D or mixed. On the review aggregator website Rotten Tomatoes, 33% of 304 critics' reviews are positive, with an average rating of 5.010. The website's consensus reads, Joaquin Phoenix's eponymous Joker takes the stand in a sequel that dances around while the story remains still, although Lady Gaga's wildcard energy gives Folie à Deux some verve. Metacritic, which uses a weighted average, assigned the film a score of 45 out of 100, based on 59 critics, indicating mixed or average reviews. Audiences polled by CinemaScore gave the film an average grade of D on an A+ to F scale, down from the first film's B+, as well as the lowest grade ever for a comic book film, while those surveyed by PostTrack gave the film a 40% overall positive score, with an average half out of 5-star rating, with a very low 24% saying they would definitely recommend it. Pete Hammond of Deadline Hollywood felt the film was brilliant, while also commenting that the production values across the board are excellent, particularly returning Lawrence Sher's cinematography, the production design of Mark Friedberg, and costumes from Ariana Phillips. 104. William Bibbiani of The Wrap gave the film a positive review, writing that the film is the most interesting film about Arthur Fleck. It's genuinely a little daring, genuinely a little challenging, and genuinely a little genuine. 105. Jeffrey McNabb of The Independent described the film as deeply unsettling. 106. In his 4 stars out of 5 review for the Daily Telegraph, Robbie Collin lauded the film for its musical numbers and Phillips for staying true to the project's nihilistic ethos, while noting Lady Gaga was magnetic but underused. Rafa Sales Ross of The Playlist echoed similar thoughts on the use of Gaga, but enjoyed Phoenix, in a much more contained turn, a welcome change to those put off by the constant, annoyingly loud cackling that permeated much of the previous installment. 108. In his 3 stars out of 5 review for The Guardian, Peter Bradshaw praised the opening, the supporting cast, and the real spark in the first encounter between the 2 protagonists, but wrote, "The whole movie finally turns out to be oppressively, claustrophobically, and repetitively becalmed in that oddly unreal Gotham Universe jail, with Phoenix and Gaga kept apart for long periods." Bradshaw found that Phoenix's own performance is as single note as before, though certainly as forceful, and his screen presence is potent, and that Gaga brings a sly and manipulative malice to her character. In a mixed review for KQDFM, Jack Coyle wrote, "Laudable as the intentions of Folie Deux may be, it feels thoughtfully but tiresomely stuck in the past." 110. A negative review for ABC News by Luke Goodsell wrote, "That Joker was intended as a standalone movie is evident from the new sequel, a quasi-musical courtroom drama that has little interest in advancing any kind of story. In fact, it's even more deliberately obtuse and anti-crowd-pleasing than its predecessor." USA Today reported that the negative reviews argued the musical numbers are underwhelming and Gaga's talents are not well utilized. 112. Manohla Dargis of the New York Times stated the film was such a dour, unpleasant slog that it is hard to know why it was made or for whom, and that Phoenix's sour frown, the movie's barely there story, its unrelenting grimness, and its commitment to forced eccentricity suggest that no one involved was really stoked to make it. David Ehrlich of IndieWire gave a scathing review, stating the film perversely denies audiences everything they've been conditioned to want from it, gently at first, and then later with the unmistakable hostility of a knife to the gut, and that its turgid symphony of unexpected cameos, mournful cello solos, and implied sexual violence is too dissonant to appreciate even on its own terms. Spencer Kornhaber of The Atlantic lamented that the film has nothing interesting to say about the challenge of fame and feels like punishment for the crime of wanting to be entertained. Justin Clark of Slant Magazine gave the film 1 out of 4, writing that Folie Deux' attempt at showcasing cleverness, verve, or engagement is held cruelly underwater by staid direction, shoddy emotional plotting, a gleeful sense of cruelty, and a grave nihilism that makes Zack Snyder's work seem like a season of Bluey. David Rooney of The Hollywood Reporter found the film frustrating, its plot a little thin and at times dull, and took issue with how the film all but neutralizes the Joker and reduces the arch-villain to a hollowed-out product of childhood trauma and mental illness. Owen Gleiberman of Variety also criticized its thin plot, deeming it overly cautious and lacking in execution, while taking issue with the minimal use of Gaga, noting her lovely unforced presence in the film is drastically underused. Her Lee never quite takes wing. One source close to the film's production deemed the film's release as a complete audience rejection, with another one noting the film to be a very expensive art film whose intended audience was none other than Phoenix himself. According to yet another source, Phillips spent the weekend release of Joker, Folie Deux secluded on a ranch property he owns. A source directly involved in the film acknowledged that no one could reach Phillips, so him ignoring fan expectations sealed its failure and harmed the DC brand. Box office analyst Jeff Bach of Exhibitor Relations called the film a Speed 2, Cruise Control, 1997 level of disaster, with Warner massively overspending on the film, only for audiences to show very little interest, seemingly as a result of the filmmakers making creative choices that did not align with fan expectations. Themes and analysis. Critics noted that the film is a work of metafiction that is designed to intentionally antagonize audiences who were fans of the first film. Rather than capitulating to expectations of the predecessor's fanbase, that Arthur would fully embrace his Joker persona and go on to become Batman's archenemy, the film serves to rebuke those who idolized the character of the Joker after the original movie. As a deliberate anti-audience effort, the film pushes against the notion of fan service, instead creating a self-aware narrative that is a commentary on its own existence. The film features off-key musical sequences that contrast with fan expectations following the original film. During one such scene, Joker acknowledges, "I don't think we're giving the people what they want." Lee Quinzel can be viewed as a stand-in for audiences who were fans of the first film, with her comments about becoming obsessed with Joker after having seen a TV movie based on his life reflecting the audience. Lee represents an affluent fan who desires the anarchy and exotic thrill Joker represents, and like the audience, is upset and disappointed when Arthur fails to live up to his Joker identity. The finale, where Arthur's crimes are trialed, and he is made to seem sad and pathetic, represents an effort by Phillips to subvert and undermine audiences who saw Arthur as heroic in the first film, and the trial reiterates the events of the first film in a way that is intended to be dissatisfying and alienating to audiences. Likewise, Arthur renouncing his Joker persona before being unceremoniously killed by an unnamed inmate who seemingly becomes the next Joker has also been interpreted as a deliberate attempt by the filmmakers to disappoint audiences, subversively denying fans their desire for a heroic or sympathetic narrative, as well as causing them to question who the true Joker of both films' titles is. As a result, many felt the film to be a very expensive punchline for the same audiences who saw the first film. Distributed by Warner Bros. Pictures, release date September 4, 2024 in Venice, October 4, 2024 in United States, running time 138 minutes, country United States, language English, budget 190 to 200 million, box office 121.1 million. So guys, this is their view of Joker Folie Deux movie and some information about it. How do you like our today's video? Please let us know by commenting, and if you like this video, please like it, share it, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.